Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report.
Same time.
Well, Regan, I have to tell you, Natasha knows, but I haven't had a chance to talk to you.
Yeah.
I got a call on Monday from my brother, and he's got cancer, and he told me that Monday he was dying, and he didn't die on Monday, and but he did pass away on Thursday at 8:29 in the morning.
Whoa, Kev. Sorry about that, Kev.
Well, I'm sorry too, but Natasha called it. They kept asking her what day, where is he in the process? Natasha, tell us that story.
Well, I just kind of tapped in. I didn't have permission from him to tap into him. And I always do that. I always wait for permission, to tap into people. But, there's that, like I've always said, that there's this kind of ether that kind of goes around. And so I just kind of had a picture of him just kind of still being able to do, open his eyes talking or, just doing that general stuff. And then, we talked, Kevin and I talked the night before, and he says, I know he passed. And I go, no, he hasn't, because I still saw him in bed. Yes, at the last moments, which sadly, this is the thing that I want people to know, that last time is never a timeline that even if you have somebody intuitively say they'll go tomorrow, the body has its own agenda. The body has to go through that primal letting go of life. And it's hard to watch. It's not an easy dance to go through because people think that their spirit is there or they're in pain. Yes, there's the physical body doing things, and I'm not going to say there's no pain. It depends on the illness. Depends on the situation, but there's that bodily part. And, if we've ever watched an animal go, if we've ever watched something else go, it's always going to be that same releasing of life and the breaths and stuff like that. And that's the part that I saw his brother go through the night before he passed, that I saw him going through that last part, but I knew that he wasn't gone yet. And so it was just that kind of dance. And I'm grateful that I was more right than wrong, because I know I don't doubt myself, but at the same time, sometimes I'm wrong. That's called life. And, like I said, there's no timeline that the body gives us. Yes, the spirit can say I'm done, but the body still has its own agenda. And that's the thing that sometimes people can't predict.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Regan, based upon the work that you've done at 8:29 a.m. on Thursday, what happened?
Well, I'm thinking, immediately with him out of his body, first thing he sees is like, wow, this isn't so bad. Most people, it's a relief, because this world is tough, and what he was going through in his mind and everything. Now, sometimes I hear, and Natasha would be good at answering this too, is there's a little confusion sometimes when people are just out of the body for a minute. It's like they're looking around, and some people, it takes them a little bit to acclimate themselves. But for a lot of people that have been around and done this many, 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 many times, it's like, they go, whoa, like, okay, out of there, I can breathe again. I got no cancer now.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin was right. Natasha was right. Regan was right. Matter of fact, I wouldn't doubt that he's somewhere hanging around right now. Natasha might be able to feel him or something.
No, he's not. What I'm getting is that, and this is what we've talked about, that there's some souls that just, when they're coming through life with more of a 3D, I'm going to call it just more of a boxed sense of knowing, that they kind of go into the next world just a little bit more. I see angels around him. The angels had him from moment one. And even before, with him, he kind of brushed him off for the weeks before because he was like, no, this isn't about me. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
I don't trust you, because of his religion. But yet at the same time, though, I really see him, like we talked about, Regan, that there's this dance that some people go through, that they just kind of go off into this. Now, this is what's happening to you. It's kind of like when we go to college and we have to go back to the, 0.90 math, before we can take the 101, it's like,
Yeah.
it's just that little bit of just coaxing to helping him. And I am getting, like me with the angels, a lot of times what I do is that when somebody's in this mode where they're away doing kind of like a course or a class or a knowing or it's a metaphor type of talk I'm talking, that they're just kind of not available because they're off doing something, that the angels do their interpreting for me. And that's what I get a lot of times. And I'm hearing that he's happy. He's actually excited to be there.
That's good.
The angel is saying that, he's doing the best he can. He's getting the ahas, with love. There's no judgment for where was, because that's what he was supposed to learn. And he's knowing that. I see that, and I can see him off in the distance, but he's just love, and it's the love that he didn't really have. And Kevin, I'm hoping you're getting this message to your heart, because he's feeling love that he hasn't felt in this lifetime, and he's getting the bigger picture, and he's learning it quick. He was not a young soul. He was an older soul. And so he just knew that this was what he had to do in this lifetime. I wouldn't say that he was a old soul. I know I'm an old soul. But but yet he had knowings. And so it's not taking him a long time to go through the ahas, but it's taken him the time to get away from what this life reality was, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Well, Regan in Michael Newton's work, he talks quite a little bit about that when there's a period of time when you're shedding the energy of being human, and that it takes a little while for you to adjust to that, and getting away from the energy, the real heavy, icky energy that he had when he was here. And it takes a little while. Is that what you know as well?
Well, yeah, it's different for everybody. Again, it like Natasha was saying, it depends on your degree of unfoldment before you passed away, or your state of mind. Because, for a while, some people are so ingrained in the way they think in the physical body, when they get to the other side, it takes a little bit to wear off, so they're still kind of connected in a way, but yet they're connected, but not connected. But from what I understand with the angels and the guides and that over there, they start working with them immediately, and they're patient, and they'll sometimes they'll take them to a place of rejuvenation, where he can, it's almost like going through a bathing process, where you get ready to move on to get back home again. So yeah, sometimes people are there instantly, but I think more than not, for the average person, it's kind of in stages. I had one of my clients one time. I've only had this happen once, but it was pretty cool the way it happened. Her father had died, and she was kind of incapacitated because they were so close. Like, they talk every day. She's like in her early 30s, but her dad was her everything, And when he just passed away in his 60s unexpectedly, really hard for her. And so she didn't even know anything about Michael Newton. She didn't know anything about this process, but a therapist down there recommended that maybe she would get some peace if she could have success in this process, like talk to her dad on the other side, So, but what was interesting about the case was she went to I put her into she went to a past life. She got there real easy, saw herself pass away. But in that space in between, that the gateway, to see her dad, boy, we had to try all kinds of things, and unsuccessful a couple of attempts. And then all of a sudden she saw this beautiful white light. And I said, well, just float over and kind of let yourself get into this white light. And all of a sudden she did. And she goes, there's a doorway. And I said, well, is it closed? She said, yeah. I said, well, see yourself open in the doorway and go through it. She went on the other side, and all of a sudden we're on this platform, and there's dozens and dozens of people, and they're like in, I forget what color, like robes, but they were like beige or something, you know. And so I said, well, ask them there. I said, ask them where you're, you know, where around here she could maybe see your father that recently passed away. And they would just say, I don't know, we're waiting for something to come pick us up. And it was like they were on a platform waiting for a train or something to come to take them to a certain level of heaven. So they just said like higher up or something. So I said, okay, let yourself rise above that. All of a sudden she's in white again. There's another door. I said, go through the door. So she opens the door, goes through it. Just like another place where everybody's congregated around. The first thing she said is, oh, they're smiling at me. They see me, because she doesn't even know this is real. So her physical self that's here, she was like, she just smiled like, they're talking to me. Oh my God. And I said, well, ask them where your dad might be. And they go, well, he's not here. But they were all wearing more like white robes or something. So it was like beige and these were white. And we said, we asked them, what's with the people with the beige robes? And they just said, no, they're kind of mixed up where they're at right now. They're not too far along and someone's coming to take them somewhere. So I thought that was cool. So then we said, okay, let's go higher up. So we went back up into the light again. And she goes, there was a door, but it was open this time. And I said, well, go through the door. Oh my God, I'm going to cry. I think now. So she goes through the door and she's going through the door and she goes, this is real. My dad. And she was with her father, and her father was there, and he was with his mother and his brother that had died. And they weren't at their final destination yet, but they were having a reunion because the father had just passed away recently. And he said, no, he's gotten further. He's just enjoying being with his mom. And he was with his grandmother. So no, he was with his mom, which was my client's grandmother, who she had never met in the physical. So the grandmother up there said, oh, finally nice to see you. So she had this cool conversation with her dad and tears coming down the whole time. I said, oh, I'm going to be quiet. You guys just have some time. Tell me when you're done. About 20 minutes later, I checked in with her and she said, no, I don't want to, because I said, well, we can go, we're in heaven now. Why don't we go check out some more of the rides, you know, see what's here at Disneyland. And she goes, no, I just want to be with my dad. So I just said, okay, when you're done, let me know. And about 25, so she was about 45 minutes she spent with her dad. And I said, well, we're recording this now. So you don't, because you're in such a deep state, you might forget some of this. Let's talk about what you and your dad talked about, if you're okay with that. And she said, sure. So it was neat. The dad was just saying how, you know, he's looking after her. It's neat for him to visit there. And the grandmother said, wow, this is so cool to actually meet you, because I didn't meet you in the physical. Anyway, that's as far as we went. We didn't go to the life review or any of that. She just wanted to see her dad. And when she came out of it, she told me about a month later, and I checked in on her, and she said, Regan, I still miss my dad, but it's different now, you know, because I saw him there. I know he's okay. And I know that there's a heaven, you know. So I just remember that session. It was so emotional, but just prove to me again, as it does all the time, that this is real, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Natasha, I got a question for you to ask the angels, because this was a point of contention while my brother was alive, which was which one of us was more accurate as to what happens on the other side. And I'm curious to know if he's willing to say that you're, I'm sorry, brother, but you were right.
Yeah. Well, you know, that wasn't what he was supposed to know in this lifetime. So I'm not going to, you know, shake the finger and say, good job, Kevin, you knew it. But, you know, it's just one of those things that we all have different paths. And I just want, you know, people to know that, you know, don't judge ourselves on if we believe in this or believe in that. It's called a personal path. And, you know, we're going to get to pretty much the same place no matter what, within reason, you know, besides a different path afterwards, you know, depends on what we did, you know. People that had a life of stealing and drugs and that kind of stuff may have to go a different path once they get done. I'm not going to say there's a hell or a heaven. I'm just saying it's just a different path, and, so yes, he's learning, it is what it is, but his soul knew, but he didn't know in his physical being.
No. And then I did have another question for you, specifically because, and I really want folks to really take what I'm about to say to heart, because I think it happens a lot more. And we'll ask Regan his opinion in just a second. But so my sister called me at 9:15. He had passed at 8:29, and she said, well, I just wanted to let you sleep for a little bit more and stuff. So we talked for a bit, and then I hung out for a bit, and then I decided to lay down and go back to sleep. And while I was asleep, I had a vision.
Yeah.
And the vision was, so first of all, my brother, just to give you an idea, had red, brownish red, beautiful long hair that, and during this vision, I pictured, I was in a room, I was an observer in this room, and there were like 15 people there, and they were all in their late 20s, early 30s. They were all fit, they were all happy, and my brother was among them. And it was like there was a coming home party for him, because he was being embraced by a bunch of folks, and nobody ever talked to me, but and they didn't acknowledge my presence, but it was like he had. So Natasha, was that him?
Yes.
Was that real?
Yes, that was him. He was giving you he was giving you the grace of saying, this is what's happening to me right now. And like we've said before on the show, that there is a reunion when we go home. And, and there is this moment where a lot of souls are not aged. They are at a certain moment where our bodies age. So a lot of times when I see people, I almost have to ask them to come to a description of them that the people would know. Because a lot of times I may see a young man who's like, in his 20s, 30s, who died in their 80s. And the people I'm talking to doing a mediumship, they're thinking of an 80-year-old. And what an 80-year-old looks like. Yeah. And I'm trying to describe a 20-something-year-old, and they don't know that 20-something-year-old. So, because that's the vitality time. That is the vitality time. We're not young children when we're most vital. It's that 20s, 30s, 40s, that we're in, that people kind of go, this is when I'm home. And so that's where kind of the recognition of what people look like kind of goes back to. And it's almost instant. I don't know why it's instant. Well, they're just saying it's because of that vitality time. And it's the most comfortable. They're not old-bodied anymore. Why should they stay old-bodied?
Yeah,
exactly. Regan?
Yeah, when I have people on the other side and they're, seeing their relatives and stuff, one of the things they do, and you can see their physical face when they're in hypnosis, and they'll smile like it's their mom or their dad, and they'll go, oh, they're younger. And it's always there. They look like they have the vitality, and then sometimes they're seeing them. They said it's confusing a little because they're seeing them in kind of body form, but kind of energy form. It's kind of a mix, between energy and how they're, because you have to remember, like their mom or dad played probably, a lot of other roles and other lifetimes and everything, where they were man, woman, boy, girl, all these different things. So what they're seeing them now is their most recent, who they remember, but they recognize energy. But they, Kev, what you probably got, the guides probably allowed you to sit in on his homecoming. So when we do this life between lives thing and people go to their soul group, sometimes they describe it as like a party for them.
That's
like the banners, balloons, I mean, and everybody's there like, wow, nice to see you. You're not supposed to be dead yet. What are you doing here before you're dead? But it's funny though, because when people have that, through the hypnosis thing and they're still up there, they get treated the same as if they had passed in their, in their soul group. So, yeah, that's good, Kevin. I mean, for you to be able to do that, did that give you some peace at all, or did you?
Well, I knew because of actually my association with Dr. Newton's work, with you, with Natasha, I knew inherently, I knew that he was okay.
Good.
He was fine. That I am sorry that the only thing that I was sorry about was when I talked to him on Monday, he was still kind of sort of coherent. And so we played some music, and I played a song by the Beatles that is near and dear, which they're going to play for me at my funeral, which is "In My Life." I don't know if you know that song.
I do. Yeah. In my life, I've loved them all.
Very good. Yay!
I don't remember the rest of the words, but I know the tune a little bit. Yeah. That's a great song. That's a great song.
We listened to that, and he cried and stuff, and I was just sad that, and this is a message that I'd like you two to expound upon, is that because of the fear that he was experiencing, because his faith, even though he professed it to be rock solid, his faith wasn't strong enough to understand where he was going, and he was fearful of that. So he worked as hard as he could to delay the process as long as he could, because he was fearful of it happening. And Natasha, you're nodding your head.
Well, yes, and that does kind of what do I want to put it? It does prolong the process within reason when someone is fearful. I would say the difference between my mother passing and my father passing was pretty amazing to, and not in a good way sometimes. There's two sides of that word in my perception. That my dad always knew. He put one foot in this world and one foot in the spirit world. He was very intuitive himself. He just kind of had this understanding. The time that his body started saying, "I'm done," he basically left within days of that. My mom, she had Lou Gehrig's disease. She took forever to pass, and, it was, it took weeks. And so with that, but she didn't have the trust of where she was going. She had religion. She had belief. It was very strong, but not necessarily in the restrictions of the religion that Kevin's talked about with his brother. But at the same time, though, and I want to say this with kindness, if I can, there is a difference between a belief in religion and a belief in spirituality.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't want to be one is better than the other, but there is a difference. My dad was more spiritual in his belief. And so he was very easy to work with. No, if a bird was talking to him, he understood that was spirit talking to him. My mom knew that when a bird was talking to her, it was like, "Hi there, how are you?" It was more, my dad didn't really want to go to church because he would go walk down the street and be in church. My mom had to go to church on Sunday, to get her spirituality. And so just the differences in just the depth of the inner walk, one just is, I feel like, and this is just a witnessing, not a judgment, a witnessing, the spirit walk is a lot easier to leave this world in than the religious world, the mindset.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Regan.
Well, I think a lot of people are within their religion become spiritual, and that's kind of a really good thing, because then they have the support of other people, when they go to church and they're with like-minded people and everything, but yet they're the ones in that church that kind of believe in the metaphysical side of Jesus, if they're Christian, and I think I know lots of those people. So yeah, there is a difference. When I have clients that are spiritual, compared to being really, really religious, like dogmatic religious, when I'm doing regular therapy for them, like for post-traumatic stress and everything, my take on it is that the people that are spiritual recover a little faster.
Mm-hmm.
The people that have religion recover a little faster than people that just don't even believe in God or don't have any kind of spiritual path or think it's all mumble jumble. Those in regular therapy seem to take a little more. It's a little more time to get them to that point. But people that believe, even if it's just they're very Christian and they have a really belief in Jesus through faith, then their faith is strong enough to know that they're not going through this alone. Even though, like with the work we do, we kind of feel the contact more directly, and they feel it more indirectly. But their faith is so strong, in a way, it's kind of on par. I mean,
The people I worry about, but first of all, before I get into that, Natasha, did you say that there were maybe some people that were perhaps listening?
There might be, yes.
Can we invite them on to the Zoom call?
I don't know if she can or not.
Oh, okay. Well then, but if you can, and if you're listening, and if you'd like to join us, I may dump you, but 225-397-1991 is my address. If you want to
say that again, a little slower so they can get that.
225-397-1991. If you do that, I'll admit you into the room so that you can talk to us and we can get your perspective of what this is. But Regan, the point I wanted to make was the people that I most worry about in this dying process are the religious people that they're religious, but their faith isn't strong enough to recognize, and they're concerned about whether or not the big question that they have in their mind is, was I good enough to get to heaven, or when I die, am I going to hell?
Right.
That's where the fear comes from.
Yes.
A lot of fear there. A lot of fear.
You've had people like that you've worked with, and what was the outcome of those episodes?
You talking to me or Natasha?
Yeah, no, go ahead, Regan.
Oh, well, there's the famous one in Dr. Newton's book that Kevin, I think you read too, that we all know from, going through the training from the Newton Institute. And it's typical of what Michael did, because he did 7,000 of these sessions himself, where he had people visit heaven and back. And typically, a person's fear is there to begin with. Like I think on one of the other shows, we mentioned this gentleman. He's over there and he turns around and he starts yelling. He's in deep hypnosis and he goes, "Oh my God, the devil, the devil, the devil." And Michael calmed him down and said, "Now look, we don't know if that's the devil or not, but nothing can harm you. You're going to be perfectly safe. I want you just to kind of go over a little closer to him and really look and see if this is the devil." Being in hypnosis, they're not quite as scared. So this person in his mind or something went over closer, and then he just started laughing. And Dr. Newton says, "Well, what's so funny?" And he said, "Oh God, and he named whatever his guide was. He said, "That was my guide. He was mocking up having horns and all this kind of stuff." Because actually this person, this is the kicker, because this person was a hell and brimstone fire preacher that went through this session with Dr. Newton. So he's over there, and then the guide said, "We just wanted to show you what you've been giving everybody on the pulpit for 20 years, and it would just end up being, nothing." So again, and this is probably a good thing to bring up in a lot of the different shows, because this is a game changer when you realize that there really is not such a thing as fire and brimstone hell, so it's all love and light over there. If you've done bad things and everything, there's like a team over there to work with you to try to, get you to some place where you can rejuvenate, and then you can decide what to do to make up for all the bad that you did before, And some people will choose to come down and go through what, like karma, to have to go through with what they put other people through. But you know, from what we found, and this is after, you know, with Dolores Cannon's too, 50, see, between Dolores Cannon and Michael's, like I said, it's probably 100,000 people have done this now. And so far, I've not heard of anything but love and light over there, and forgiveness. You know, when I did the thing myself, and I was, like I said, I was in that place where I was on a mountaintop and I was afraid that was like a devil there was behind me. And because I'm in this state, I had the power to turn around and face whatever evil I thought was chasing me, you know? And, you know, the facilitator says, well, I could go to safety somewhere. And I said, no, I said, I'm going to turn around. And I turned around to face this, what I figured was like a devil or an evil spirit or something chasing me. And it was a couple hundred people lined up all the way down this mountain there that were smiling at me and came up one by one and hugged me and said they forgave me for whatever I did to them in another lifetime. So
very, very bad man.
I know I did something. Yeah. That's the one thing in this work you find out. We didn't, you know.
Oh no, we all
weren't always
think,
angels.
yeah, we all think that in this lifetime, this is who we've been. We're not.
No.
You know, somebody had to play Hitler. Somebody had to play, you know, Jesus, or not Jesus, but, you know, somebody, you know, of heightened, or one had to be a king, one had to be the slaughterer. You know, it's just, we have different lifetimes to learn different aspects of who we are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One
but
was
doesn't it, Natasha? It's like,
eat that. So I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Once you realize this, you look at everybody differently. Like the bad people in the world, you somehow look at them with a little bit of compassion or empathy and realize they're just going through stuff right now that may not be pleasant. And then you kind of go, oh boy, they may have to pay for some of the stuff they're doing in a not so fun way someday.
Yeah.
But you don't, I don't know, your level of hatred, whatever level we have from 1 to 1,000, it becomes so much less, you know. As you see, we're all human, we all screw up, you know.
Well, you know, it's interesting from my perspective, and I'm not a psychic medium, and I'm not trained in hypnosis, but I will tell you this, is that I believe that everything is energy. All the energy emanates from the source, and in order for there to be a hell, there has to be a place where the source is not. And there is no place where the source is not, because it is the all-encompassing energy, except Natasha just pointed to the correct place, which is
in the mind. Well, and you know, it's kind of that thing about perception, you know, that the mind plays awful tricks on us. And, you know, it's just one of those things that I wouldn't say that people who do really nasty things don't get taken care of and said, now this is why you are doing it. And they go through the one-on-ones, you know. It's, I was watching the TV show Lucifer. I love that show.
Is that good? I heard that's pretty good.
I love that show. It totally plays on all the things. But Lucifer showed us what hell was. And it was what we did wrong played over and over and over and over again. And I went, duh, that's what hell is that self-perception of playing things over and over again. Because I'm going to say I was not Hitler, so I cannot speak for him, but have an understanding, did he think he was doing wrong? He thought he was...
You know, when you doing
what he thought was right, you know, because otherwise he wouldn't have been, you know. And so with that you know, perception is a lot of our world, and we are living in a form of hellishness because we do it to ourselves. You know, we really do it to ourselves, and it's sad that so many of us punish ourselves for things that we really are not doing. I'm going to say murdering somebody is wrong. Yes, it's taking a life, but you know, are we supposed to beat ourselves up because we were late to work by 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You know, it's like some people think that's the end of the world because they were late 5 minutes. Well, you know, maybe, you know, you were supposed to be 5 minutes late because there was a car crash that you missed, you know. because somebody who, ran the stop sign right before you and nobody else witnessed it because you weren't there, and so there's that process of doing what we're doing, that fear is what hell is. Like for me, one time I was doing a meditation, and I was doing some work on my chakras. Well, I went down into my basement of my chakra, and it was down kind of like in the dungeon, and everything was cobwebby and dark and everything. And there was this chest that I was supposed to go over to, and I was meant to open it up. Well, I opened it up, and here was this dark being, and I'm like going, what is that dark being? And then the cloak came off, and it was me.
Wow.
And it was like, oh, I am the one who's keeping myself shadowed down, dark, being. This was kind of at the beginning of my coming really out to be who I am today. It was about 2 years after my mom passed. And so that was my awakening of who I really should be and called to be. And you're kind of seeing her now, but that was who was wanting to come out, was this beautiful being that was wanting to be shown and be seen, instead of this dark in the chest, dark, dim, kind of the personal darkness that I was putting myself in. And that was my perception of me. Now I don't have that perception. I've shifted it. It's just amazing how we kind of do this to ourselves. And so hell is not necessarily, it's the lack of light. But I also say love. Everybody thinks that love is kindness and moving and that kind of stuff. I understand love has tough love, which is not always nice. When somebody says to me, because they don't want me in the house, get the out of my house, but they're doing it in a loving way because they really can't have me in their house. That's tough love. And, that's basically what the heaven and the hell to me is it's the difference between love and tough love. It's not necessarily the lack of love, because the universe doesn't have lack of love. Everything is for our greater good, and I am one that, yes, I deal with darkness. I mean, I've gone into my girlfriend's house and taken the demon out of her house. I understand that there's darkness. So there's a difference between our perception of what human hell is and darkness is.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're supposed to have, if we get to have March, a retreat. There's going to be about, hopefully, at least 100 of the Newton Institute therapists all together to talk about all this stuff. And I want to get other people's viewpoints and stuff too, and how do they describe it? Because the way it's seeming to me now, that the hell or the devil or this negative stuff that we have is actually part of our humanness down here that serves a purpose of good and evil, right and wrong, hot and cold and all that. So it's kind of a I don't know, it's something that helps us learn in a way by seeing the opposites of good and bad and everything. But that, like, once we're out of school, we leave school grounds and it's not there, but it seems to serve a purpose. Although some people, I think, take it to kind of extreme. But I think it even, maybe we'd have someone call in sometime, but I believe, isn't there something in the Bible where they say, like, Satan behind me, or get Satan, you just have to, like, anything, if you see Satan or something, or feel him that way, and Jesus was saying how you have the power to tell him to get the heck out of here, in other words. Yeah. So he's telling us we have power over them. Some people think it's the other way around. They think, oh my God, if the devil's here, I'm running, because I can't be more powerful than this devil creature or this negative energy. But I think the Bible even says, hey, we have power over that, and you just have to believe,
Well, that's why I was able to get the being out of my girlfriend's closet, because he was afraid of me, because he knew that I wasn't going to put up with his stuff and who I walk with. If I don't have it, I know the energies that do, and that's the thing is that, but I also want to let people know, though, there are negative beings that used to be people that sometimes choose not to cross over.
Yeah.
And they are darkness.
Yeah.
They are the ones that sometimes deem their house because they used to. And if they maybe were someone who didn't treat people nicely, and they start collecting that kind of energy, and so they bring in more darkness. And it's just sometimes things happen where there's spirits who choose not to move on, and they can be the dark beings that we see. But us in the light, the spirit beings that we are, that 99% of us do cross over.
Yeah.
Can you imagine all the souls that there are? I mean, you take all the people on this earth and then you try grapple it. That's how many souls are there. So if you have one dark being in your house, or 2 or 3 or 10, that is an unusual thing that happens. That's not the norm for spirit.
Yeah.
Well, it's counterproductive because you can't grow and move forward if you're stuck in a house for 300 years.
Yeah.
No, but there is those things that I'm going to say, let's say, like if there's a child who was in the slavery and she was killed and by a house, and the house, she's just kind of lost. And so she goes to this one house because there's this peacefulness there, and she likes it there because there's home, and that's the last place that she kind of knew that was comfortable. She might choose to stay there because there's other spirits there that are kind of mothering her, and sometimes there's the residual of time, that there's just spirits that keep going. It's like an imprint. Like if there's a major thing, like let's say 9/11, where 9/11 happened, there's going to be an imprint that people might feel spirits there, but it's like a time zone that things just keep repeating because it's such an imprint on time in a certain place. And you can feel that usually when you're driving through, let's say if there's a major crash on a road, you'll kind of get the shivers because you think that there's a spirit there. No, it was just an imprint on time, that there's just this circle that keeps coming around and around and around.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. By the way, Regan, you said a little bit ago when you were talking about the after the first of the year, I heard you say, if we get March. You know something that we don't know?
If we get I'm just thinking as long as COVID's gone by then, because for now they've kind of put it on hold. But if things clear up, then we're going to get together. Otherwise we'll have to put it off, And I was hoping it would be here because it's close to San Francisco, so I only have to drive about 100 miles. Where some people will be coming from other countries, to this retreat. So just to be nice if they had it in my neck of the woods, be easier for me to get to.
So I've got another question for both of you, and that has to do with end of days, the end of the world, and all of that. My understanding is, and you tell me, but my understanding is the earth was created for our enjoyment and playtime, and for us to do and to have and to be, and that destroying the world or the end of the world as we know it would be pointless because we've created the world as it exists and we have the ability to change it. Am I delusional, kids?
You say, are we delusional?
No. Am I delusional with that, with what I just said?
No, I think from the, the Dolores Cannon work, I've been, like I say, I'm working, like when I've had done 3 sessions. I got to do 7 to get my, to be eligible to take the second level of training through Dolores Cannon's thing. So what I'm doing, I'm actually kind of, in the 3 that I've done, I've kind of combined the Michael Newton protocol with the healing protocol of the Dolores Cannon way, of trying to get some physical healing done for my clients. And so far, I don't know. It seems like, I have to get in touch with these people and see after a month or 2 if their physical issues, to do the research and find out have they gotten better, find out what's placebo effect, what's really happened, and that sort of thing. But what she found out was just what you're saying, Kev, that this was, this is we're supposed to be taking care of this planet, because it's like our home, and as a family on this planet, there's some of the kids that are not picking up their trash and they're not cleaning their room, and they just don't get it, and the people that are more evolved, if you call them one of parents, grandparents, that sort of thing, just more evolved souls, are having a hard time because there's so many of these so many of these unevolved souls that are making a mess of this planet. But when Dolores has been talking to, and what's been coming out with her clients is that this is where we get into this far out stuff where people are going to, I don't know, it took me a while to kind of come on board with it, but there's just so much stuff in there about the other races, the other people, other dimensions that are other souls that are experiencing things, is that we're all interconnected in a way, and they're letting us do free will. If we're going to mess this planet up, they can't come and just make us better, or they just can't come and change things for us. So that's why in Dolores Cannon's book, I think it's called The Three Waves of the Volunteers or something. People that she's had in session have been some of these volunteers that came down from other dimensions, from spaceships, some of them from being other races, from heaven, and they're down here incarnated now in our age, trying to, in whatever way they can, to turn things around through free will, So it's like the earth is it's like a living being, and when it gets sick, it hiccups and it sneezes, and it's trying to heal itself, and a lot of it's because of stuff we've done to it, mistreated it. So it's important that everybody knows that now. And all you have to, the thing that I'm kind of learning is like the 12 monkey thing, that you hear about. Well, like people say, well, there's so many bad people in the world, it's going to take 51% of good people to turn things around. But it seems like the way it works is you only need a fraction of that to turn things around, So, maybe Natasha, can explain the 12 monkey thing, but it's kind of like, once 12 monkeys have learned a certain thing, then it seems like all the monkeys learn it,
And that's the thing is that we learn by witnessing. Like the years that my husband was getting sober, he said to me about a year ago, "You've taught me so much." And I said, "Babe, you don't even like to listen to me. How am I supposed to, how are you learning from me?" And we're oil and water sometimes.
That's a woman that's been married for 30 years.
Yeah. He's a fire sign, I'm a water sign. We make good steam, it works. Otherwise, we're putting each other's stuff out. But he says, you showed me how to be. It's like the days I was upset, I'd walk away from him instead of screaming and yelling at him, so there's just these things that you kind of do to teach. And that's one thing that I'm noticing, like for me, I can't say for how they're learning, but for me in school, I work in an elementary school, and people just kind of say, "Natasha, you just bring me breath of fresh air," and sometimes that's all we need to do to change somebody's day. And doing that work is the seed now. Like the person I was talking to earlier, now she's going to go home to her child and maybe be fresher for her child and her husband, which makes now them do better in their job tomorrow. We never know what we're doing for others if we're being kind, and that's the amazing thing about how, being a light for someone doesn't mean always that we have to be our best. But it means that we just have that, like I was saying, love, love can be tough love. When my husband's yelling at me, I say, "Honey, not tonight. I'm being tough love." No. But does that mean that I get to scream and yell at him back? Not really, because I'm not angry with him. He's angry with me. It's just the process of how to manage, and we all have different tools. We've learned something different as we're growing up, and it's just how we're going to be. And that's part of this dance of life and why we're here. Mother Earth, I talk to her daily, and And she just has this wisdom that says they're my children, you know, just like every mother loves, well, not every mother. Let me rephrase that. Some mothers love their children. She is the ultimate mother who loves us. You know, she doesn't like it that we're digging into her. Yes, sometimes she likes me to dig in the dirt with my shovel because that's kind of like acupuncture for her, but she doesn't like the deep upsetting. But why does she cause earthquakes? She gets a little upset and says, that doesn't feel very good, you know? And so, you know, like sometimes there's people who are really stuck in old ways. Well, I hate to say this, but sometimes the hurricanes come and kind of teach people how to love. You know, I'm not saying that everything is meant to be the way it is. You know, kind of like there was the hurricane that went last year that went over Puerto Rico. Do you know how many people were praying that it would stay away from Florida? Well, where did it sit?
Oh, in Puerto Rico instead of going to Florida, you mean?
For it to stop and not hit Florida as well. Well, you know, energy has action. Well, if they would have prayed for it to go off into the ocean or a different direction, then it probably would have done something different. But Mother Earth isn't here to damage us. She's here to say, I can help you waking up, though.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I tend to think that the Mother Nature and Michael Newton in Destiny of Souls, he said that some folks he can go either backwards or forwards as far as timeline goes.
Mm-hmm.
And he's Regen will verify this. He said that there were some people that went into the future, and while we were still here, there was a whole lot less of us because of the decisions that we have made now.
Well, yeah, this thing about the future, it's both the Newton Institute and through the quantum healing hypnosis technique, they both say just be a little careful because it is possible for people to go in the future, but there's so many possibilities of the future that it can really confuse things sometimes. So they said just be gingerly. On the YouTube, there's one, I've only seen one, but this therapist had a person in deep hypnosis and had her go into the future. And it's a little dull now, but it was like, I'm trying to think how far in the future it was. It was quite a ways in the future. And he started asking her questions, and she came out of where she was staying, and the buildings looked kind of Romanesque, you know, big. And she said that every child growing up now has a mentor instead of a babysitter. When the parents are off doing their thing, there's a mentor to teach the children spirituality, you know, to teach them kindness, to teach them everything. So they're not just getting babysit, they're actually taught how to be good citizens. She said, how many people in the world? And she said, about 50 million. That's kind of not a lot. And she said, how do you get around? And it was on these like magnetic rails, trains or something, you know, was the mode of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, well, how many races are there? And she goes, one. You know, it's like everybody had look how much we're mingling now because the earth has gotten smaller because of travel. So I don't know how many years in the future it was, but by that time we were all intermingled. We were just kind of like one race. So whether that was accurate or not, it was very interesting, you know. So I try not to play with this, although I'm down here in Hollywood. There's a producer down here we're trying to get together to make a documentary about what we're talking about, you know. Mm-hmm. So I came up with the idea, and I don't know, I'll know later this week, but if we do it, I think it would be interesting if we could get through this life between life process, if we could have in one show, we could have say a Jewish rabbi, a Christian minister, a Hindu person, all go through the same experience and then see how close or different, see where they overlap, where they don't, where their beliefs are in there. And then I thought for another show, we'd do like a death row inmate, you know, maybe a monk or something, and some, you know, get three. In other words, it would be interesting to actually a whole show could be done on this process with death row inmates. and just to see what they see on the other side, how, if this helps, and then check back with them in 6 months or a year and see if going through this process, how it's changed them at all or not changed them. Just doing research, it would be, I got all these ideas and I thought, wow, if someone produced them, this would be.
We're waking you up to all kinds of ideas, aren't we?
I know it.
Well, I kind of did that to Kevin too. So
yeah, well, she did.
Yeah,
she did.
Natasha, I was going to ask you, like, next week where I'm going to be staying, have just this most lovely soul that's there, and she's always. I was thinking I can get her on with us on Zoom, like she can come in, and maybe if you want, maybe you could do a reading for her or something.
Oh, sure, I would love to.
That would be interesting for the show. She would. She is the coolest. Her when she talks though, you're gonna like laugh a little bit first because she sounds like a cartoon character. She was on Chuck Woolery one time. She was on the Chuck Woolery show, the dating. Is it the dating game?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and this was way back 30 years ago, and he says, "I don't know if I'm talking to a person or a cartoon here." She should have done voiceover. She's so precious. She's my old girlfriend. And I'm staying here with her and her boyfriend. They come up and visit to my place. Her and her boyfriend come up to see my fiance and us. It's all, when you get this age, it's just cool.
Yeah,
everybody loves everybody.
That's the whole thing that we're supposed to do in life is get less sticky.
Yeah,
just be less sticky about things. We're so sticky about if this is right or this is wrong, and it's like, well, what are you learning from it? That's what's more important, is what are you learning from it than the self-perception of judgment. But that's called humanness.
Well, it'd be great as people who are listening now tune in next week and see, because what I was going to have her do, see if maybe, Natasha, you might be lucky enough to contact her mother. And her mother died like 30 years ago, but she's still kind of not gotten over it all the way, And I mean, to have a little, I've been trying to get her to do this Life Between Lives, but she's got too much fear. But
and a lot of people do, and that's I just pray for grace for them.
Yeah. Anyway, that'd be something different, and
So if you set that up for Monday, we can also do an auxiliary if the two of you are up for it, if you got the time, on a different day and time, if it works for her as well.
Yes.
Sure. That would be great, Natasha. And it'd be good too.
I would be grateful. I would be grateful, because that is my ultimate calling, and that's why I was pushed to do something like this, was because I'm here to support and help people. Yeah. I just want to give them a light. Like I was doing a mediumship on Friday of just a small group. My house is big enough that I can spread out. And there was 4 mothers who lost children in the group of 7 people. And just holding that kindness and watching them struggle and having the message that their children gave them was just, they just said, thank you. They just said, thank you.
So for people listening too, because I'm learning all this too now, Natasha, and what you do as a medium, if somebody is coming to you for them to prepare, what do you want them to have, like a list of questions or something that they're curious about, or do you just do a reading and just in general?
The only thing that I ask is that they're more open than not. When somebody comes in and they're a closed book, I'm not going to let you in. Nope, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's really the only thing that stops me. Now, if someone's coming for a general session, it's kind of nice to have some things to focus in. Otherwise, I'm going to be trying to tap into AM radio and FM radio, and I can't get, there's too much out there. But usually when I have a name, I can usually call in the person who they're wanting to. Many times, like in the sessions I do, sometimes it's not even who they were hoping for. And I said that if you're looking to want to talk to someone, use their name, and that's easier to call them in. Yeah.
Oh, also, Kev, if anybody listening to the show now or in the future, I've not been able to, I was on the internet one time and I found it's a school, it's a university. I kept thinking it's like in Arizona somewhere or something. And they say that they're really close to having what they call a God phone. And what they did is the university had a lot of mediums come in and they tested them, and the ones that were pretty accurate, and however they're double blind tests and everything, the ones that were good, they had them contact some entities on the other side and say, how can we learn to communicate with you better? And the people on the other side started telling them what kind of electronic components to put together and how to put this device together where they can at least get like yes and no answers. Like people can ask people on the other side and they can tell by the meter or whatever it have, it's yes or no or something like that. And they're calling it the God phone. But I went back to try to look for that because I found that was about a year ago. I wondered how they're doing. But Tesla is supposed to be Edison, Tesla, and Michael Jackson are three of the entities on the other side that they're dealing with that are helping him put this thing together. And so when they got to the Michael Jackson thing, I think a lot of people would, like, oh,
he was an amazing brain. He was not, he was an amazing brain. And so his knowings, and he was an old soul. So he came in being who he was to waken people up in a way. And so that's why he's trying to still help us wake up, So was Tesla. Tesla was a star being who came in.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's a scientist of the spirit of his entities. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So he was the scientist of us being human, but he's the scientist of the star people. And so he's really focused in on what to do and that kind of thing. And I kind of, conscious, I'm glad they're calling it like the God phone, because then that's going to keep the intention, the negative energies out of it, because, you have, as we talked, you open the door and you're going to have negative as much as positive, because that's called balance. And something like that could really go off into,
be like a Ouija board.
Us humans, we don't always call in the right things or the better things for love.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I, in my psychic self, am sitting here saying, Natasha has to go cook dinner now.
Yeah. Actually, my husband is off doing things, and I have the house to myself.
Oh, that's even
But
more.
my dog, who hasn't seen me all day, would really love it if I can spend some time with her. Well, she doesn't have her dad.
as usual, again, this was great fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed today.
Yes, and me too.
We are getting better, guys, as we do this.
I think so. Yeah, and Kevin, I mean, this is have you had a funeral yet, or what's going on with that?
No, he is in a freezer in Loomis, and the orders have been done to cremate him, and he wants to be spread where he was living. There's a pond in the back, and
nice.
He wants to live there, or his ashes to be there, and stuff. So that's good. And I have a piece about his passing. And
I can tell. That's good, Kevin.
It was I'm sorry that at 64 he was young, but he was a roofer his whole life, and so he had asbestos in his system and all that. And so that's that. But I feel like that was he lived as long as he should, because now he can go review what mistakes he made, what things he did well, and move forward with that. So, I have a real piece about it. And with people like Natasha, it really is helpful. Although I am going to do a bit of a memorial on Sunday that I'm still working on.
So is he living like near you, or is he far away?
No, he was on the other side of the state. So he was all the way over by Spokane.
Oh, okay.
And
so about 6 hours away.
Yeah, exactly. And with the fires and with COVID and with all of that, it just makes it impossible for you to go over there and stuff like that. So he was being taken care of by a nice lady, and which was his quote unquote pseudo partner, and and you be quiet over there. And she was, and so he passed under as good of circumstances, and because he passed away in her home, and so it wasn't like he was in the hospital or.
Oh, okay.
So it was as comfortable, except for the fear part. It was really comfortable for him.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
And just to tell, I highly encourage people to call the two of you because they can get insight that they can't get really anywhere else. And so Regan, if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do that?
Okay. Best through my website. It's visittheafterlife.com. Pretty easy. Visittheafterlife.com. And there's all kinds of videos and things on there. And again, like I'll close every show, just want to people know that we have this process now through the Newton Institute, that over 50,000 people through the Institute have done this so far. And most people are successful at it, because it sounds crazy. People go, oh, I could never do that, but most people can. That's to get into a really deep, relaxed state, which I facilitate. And you will have a little God switch, and I can have you experience a past life, see yourself pass away, turn around, and have you take me where you go between lives. And while there, you can visit your soul group, which is a group of souls that you've probably incarnate with time after time, playing different roles and trying to help each other evolve. And go before council, get a life review, and you can get questions answered to your current life. You can talk to people that passed away, go to places where you can get inspired for music and art. And there's a library there that has actually all of the records of every life you've ever lived before. And it's easy to do. Anybody can do it now. So I do all of California. If you're in another state, I'll get you hooked up with someone. You just to my website. I'll connect you with someone in your state or someone that you can have this beautiful life-changing experience.
And that website again is
visittheafterlife.com.
visittheafterlife.com.
Yeah, and the book you can get through on the internet everywhere. Amazon, it's all over the place. It's called 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven. 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven. It's just about my own personal experience of my life growing up, how I got to have this finalized, this beautiful experience where I spent over 3 hours in the afterlife and what it was all about, what I learned and everything. So that's good too.
Natasha, how do we find you?
You can find me at angelicclarifications.com or Natasha at angelicclarifications.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, where I do inspirational quotes. So you can always message me through there. I'm pretty into that. So I post Monday through Sunday or Monday through Friday, so that you can. I just love supporting people. So there's a lot of times there's just little inputs of how can you walk through life, and I just enjoy supporting and helping those around. I know that Regan and I both, just with our kindness and with our love, we just want to just say, we're just here to learn something, and this is a perspective that we can give you.
Very nice. So that website again is
angelicclarifications.com.
And if you want to find more about My Independence Report, go to My Independence Report. That's pretty easy. Just Google it, and it shows up on the front page. It's pretty remarkable these days. So
yeah, and Kevin, you have lots and lots of things that people can download, right, from all these great shows you've done in the past and the different great guests. Didn't you even have the guy that did the Conversations with God?
Neil Donald Walsh. He's got two on my site, and as well as Gary Zukoff and John Edward and some gal by the name of Natasha.
I was there too.
and Regan Forston is a wonderful hypnotherapist. And there's some other folks that talk. You know what's interesting? I have to share. I've been doing this so long now, and I've got 155 episodes that are up, but I've got in my bedroom, I've got a box of CDs that's probably got another 500 episodes.
Wow.
That I've done over time. But the interesting thing is all of the mediums talk like her. All the hypnotherapists talk like you. It's not like it. So that's when people look at me and say, well, how do you know?
I said, because I have been down this road with a bunch of folks who all say the same damn thing and they don't know each other.
Right. Yeah.
It is.
See, it's not a lie. It is not. I want to tell people this is not a lie. I remember being there myself. I remember writing my contract coming into this world going, do I really want to do this again? Do I really want to make that choice again? It just, even my own child, as I was driving on the freeway, was saying, I want to be your child. So it's like I've had these experiences myself. So this is not, and you too, Regan, it's like there's just too many coincidences to get it, and that's why, we're just part of the one big picture. We're just all energy.
Yeah, the veil between here and the other side is getting thinner by the day.
Oh, and it's going to be huge during Halloween here.
The next 6 weeks are going to be nothing short of amazing.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're going to be talking on the night of. Let's see, is Tuesday when the 4th is when everybody's going to be voting?
Tuesday's the 3rd, Monday's the 2nd. We'll be there. We can be there on Monday if you guys want to. We could do a podcast, a long podcast on election night. We could do that.
Yeah,
and see what happens, because it's going to be, excuse the expression, the next 6 weeks is going to be a shit show.
It's going to be something.
I hate
sometimes you have to have the shit show to get the awareness to wake up so that we can do what we need to do.
Right.
Absolutely true. Absolutely.
I think, someone's got to come out with a book once, whatever the Trump era, whenever it's gone, they could write probably a thick book on all the things that have changed for the good because of going through all that crud that we're going through right now.
I agree.
We're going through so many good changes right now.
And that's what I said. Sometimes you have to have something that pulls that thing out. You know, it's like, there's just something that you have to have. Like, you have to have a rat. One rat shows you how many rats you have.
Right.
You have one mouse, that there's 100, but until you found that one mouse, you don't know you have the 100,000 under your house. So you have to have something to show you what the other thing is that you need to work on.
Yeah, voter turnout is better than ever than they can remember so far. So we're getting people more involved in the process and not being so lackadaisical about their future and realizing that they can, in America here, at least we can vote people out we don't like. You can't do that in other countries. So, we're blessed. So
I'm grateful every moment of a day because there's so many blessings that I choose to look at.
Yeah.
Very cool. You guys are awesome. We could do this all night long, but he's sitting on the side of the freeway. You've got to take care of your dog. I got to call my sister. So we're gonna say we'll take care. We'll talk to you next week on Life Between Lives. My Independence Report. Natasha, Regan, thank you.
Hey, and thanks.
See you later. See you, Natasha.
Bye.
Hey,
Drive safe.
Hey, don't forget to follow us so you can receive regular updates and new posts. And remember, take care of each other because each other's all we've got. See you next time on My Independence Report.